Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series 8619. This is the Dinobot Snarl. This is Snarl as we saw him in that 1986 movie. So let's go ahead and look at that packaging real quick. We'll bring that in and you can see the artwork there, and he's shooting fire out of his tail because why wouldn't he? He's looking up all angry. Transformers the movie, Snarl, Transformers up the side. There's a big old picture of Snarl on the side with that toothless grin. On the back, you have some information. It is big screen inspired. It is the Battle of Autobot City. And down here, he converts in 31 steps, and Snarl and the Autobots must find a way to destroy Unicron before Cybertron is devoured. Down here, you have all your warnings, and there you have your sad baby. The baby's sad because baby is afraid of dinosaurs. It's an irrational fear. Don't ask him about it. Over here, 8619, there is Snarl again. He is a leader class. Up top, you have Transformers the movie. Down low, you have all of that good stuff if you want to read it. Alright, so that is the box. Let's get that thing out of the way, and let's focus on what you're all here for. We'll take a look at Snarl and all his good stuff. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came with Snarl, and frankly, for a leader class, it's not a lot, but let's go ahead and get into it. Over here you have your little sheet of warnings, and over here you have your instruction booklet, and so you are left with the one weapon, which is his sword. As far as swords go, looks pretty good. I do like the silver, good detail in there. And coming on down, you've got yourself a handle. Flip it over, and then you've got another peg right there that you can use in other ways, which we'll talk about later. And then you've got that sculpt work there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We're not going to waste a lot of time on it. It's a sword, and he holds it and does sword things with it. All right, now the only other thing left to talk about is the display base right here that comes with the leader class or the Studio Series figures, not just the leader class, but it does have a backdrop of Autobot City in there. It's really cool. I don't have room, maybe you do, but for me, I appreciate that they include it, but I'm just going to put it back in the box. The box is going to go in storage, and I may or may not ever see it again. I don't know. So anyway, that's it for the accessories. So let's go ahead and get all this stuff out of the way, and then we will bring in Snarl for the main event, and we'll look at all of his details. Here he is, the Dinobot that makes Grimlock look like a genius. This is the leader class Snarl. So before I bring him in for his close-up, I do just want to take a moment to let's enjoy this bot mode. I think out of all the Dinobots so far, for me, this is my favorite. His bot mode just looks wonderful. I think they've captured him really well here. So just wanted to take that moment to enjoy him for what he is before we bring him in closer. But let's go ahead, now that we got that out of the way, and let's do that. So let's look at that head first. Sculpt work is done really well. My biggest complaint overall on this figure would be I think we could have used more paint applications. So much great sculpt work that they could have taken advantage of here. So you're going to see that kind of throughout the figure. So many opportunities here that I think were missed, where they could have added a splash of color just to really, really bring this guy to life. But the head looks good. Sculpt work on that side, on the front. The eyes are blue, look great. Chest looks good, same thing, just needs some paint right there, really. Coming down in that midsection, same deal, great sculpt work. Just could have used some paint. The legs, not all that exciting here in the thighs, but they get the job done. And then you come down to those lower legs, and he just looks wonderful right here. I love it. You do not want to get a front shin kick by this guy, for sure. Taking a look on the inside, no real hollow areas. This is just transformation right here, so no complaints whatsoever. This is actually the head, so that's really cool, or the dinosaur head. So I love the way they've done that, the way the overall look goes there to complete those legs. And then coming over here, before I lift that arm up, let's take a look at that side view. So there he is from the side. I think he, again, becomes a robot really nicely. Everything compacts up. No real backpack to speak of. Would have liked to have seen maybe something slightly different done here with those front dinosaur feet, but still not complaining. Just came out looking wonderful. So coming on down here, you do get some paint right down here. That blue looks really good. And then even if you open that ankle up, you can see you've got mechanical detail in there as well. So very well done. Coming on through. Everything is solid everywhere. Very well done. And then coming up here to the arms, start with those fists. You got big black fists. Forearms look pretty good, nothing incredibly exciting. you do get sculpt work all the way around there, and then of course you get his dinosaur foot right there, big broad shoulders right up here. All that looks good. And then of course just this crowning achievement back here with that stegosaurus tail and all those fins, spikes, the plates, whatever you want to call them. Looks really good. Coming around to the back, give you that overall back view. Even back here, he looks great. So awesome engineering, in my opinion, on this figure as far as making this bot mode goes. Between the two modes, this is definitely my favorite. Now, he does, of course, on the backside, you know, you've got screw holes, you've got, you know, a couple of areas right up here, you know, where the tail goes together. It doesn't really detract, and there's no glaring hollow areas. So even from back here, I think he looks pretty darn good. Now, let's get him straightened out, and we will talk about his articulation. And just like the overall looks, I think that he excels in his bot mode for articulation more so than his dinosaur mode. I do want to get one thing out of the way real quick, since we're going to talk about articulation and it's going to get in my way. I'm really disappointed with the hips. These pins right here for the basically for the splits, right? They're loose. So they're not glaringly loose, but as you handle this figure, it's super easy to move these legs and get them knocked out of proportion. And, you know, he might not hold his weight and they might split out on you and that kind of stuff. So hopefully it's just my copy. Hopefully it's not systemic, but I think they could have gone a better route. They have ratcheted hips forward and back, and they have ratcheted knees. Why couldn't they have ratcheted these instead of just using these pins? So that's kind of disappointing. So now that I've got my complaint out of the way, let's talk about the articulation overall, starting with that head. So the head's on a ball joint. You can get it up that high. You can get it down that low. You can get a little bit of a tilt out of it. You can take it all the way around if you want to do so. Coming over here to the shoulders, you can bring the shoulders out that high, and then you can go all the way around with them. They, as you can hear, they are on ratchets. So just watch out for that tail as you do that. And then coming down here, you have your arm, or your bicep, your arm bend, your bicep bend, blanking out. Anyway, so you can go that far with it. If you want to break this joint right here, and I say break loosely, you can pop that loose right there. That's actually meant for transformation, but that'll help with that elbow. If you want to do something like that, you can take it that far. That's actually for the alt mode, but you can do that if you want to. There we go. And then as far as bicep rotation goes, you have bicep rotation there. It goes all the way around. Down here at the hands, you have a wrist rotation, so you can take those all the way around if you want to do so. And bringing those arms up, you do have waist rotation, so you can go all the way around for your waist. If you need to, you could also stretch them out. This is obviously for transformation, but hey, I don't know what you're going to do with your figure. You may need him to do something like this, so it's there if you want it. All right, coming down to those loose hips, you do get full splits out of them, so that's very nice. Just wish they were tighter. And then kicking forward, those are on soft ratchets, but they hold very well, so you can kick forward that far, and then you can kick backward that far. So he definitely has the flexibility of a dancer if you need him to do that. And then you have thigh rotation. You can go all the way around on the thigh. Down here at the knees, you have ratchets as well, so you can take it that far. In his bot mode, you could move all this stuff out of the way to take it deeper if you wanted to, but standard is that. And then he can go forward that way as well. So if you have a situation where you've got the hip back and you want to have something like that, kind of almost like that chicken leg kind of look, you could do that as well. So you do have great flexibility in those legs. Coming on down to those feet, you have these front toes. They're up as far as they will go. You can take them down that far. And then ankle tilt, so you can snap those in place if you want his feet completely flat, or otherwise don't take his feet apart. Don't do what I did. Just bring the feet down, and you can do this. So he can definitely Saturday Night Fever. I'm picturing Saturday night at a roller derby somewhere. Hey, maybe that's just me. But yeah, great flexibility there, great articulation as far as that bot mode goes for sure. Like I said, biggest complaint is just going to be those hips, so just kind of disappointing there. And yes, I took your feet apart again. Sorry. All right, so as far as the next segment goes, it is for accessories. We are not going to do a separate segment for it. We're just going to take his sword and you do sword things with it. So look at that. Yeah, he holds a sword. Bet you didn't see that coming. Also, for weapon storage, you can use this port right here in the back, and this is where you utilize that side peg. And then he's got really nice looking storage back there for his sword as well. I think that works out really nicely. Now, he does have, that's it for the accessories, but let's talk about the blast effect compatibility. He does have some blast effect compatibility, but it's not enough to get super excited about. So if we bring a couple of volunteers in, you've got shoulders, so you could do that. You have them down here at the bottoms of his feet, because Dinobots have been known to fly on a few occasions. You have this going on if you want to do that, so have a good time with that. You do have of course, the weapons storage port is the same one that Starscream shoots people in the back with, so there you go. All right, so that covers the details, articulation, and the accessories. So now what we will do is we will get into the transformation, and we will, just like magic, we will turn this guy into his Stegosaurus mode. Now let's go ahead and get Snarl transformed into his fearsome alt mode, shall we? So the first thing you're going to want to do is some prep on these arms and these hands. It just makes life easier for later. So go ahead and bring those forward. Just makes it easier to see everything. So after you bring those forward, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take these dinosaur feet and pull them out of your way. So if you just put your thumb right there and swing that down, that's going to give you a cavity right there. After you have that cavity, take the hand, rotate the hand 180 degrees so it's sitting like that. And then you're going to bring that down and push until you get a slight, just soft click. All right, after you've done that, if you want, bring the foot back up a little bit and then swing this out and turn that around. And then you've got the lower part of the leg done. Now the next thing that we're going to do is, I'm going to click this down just so I can show you. You have this slot right there, you have this tab right there, and in order to accomplish that, you have to break his arm. So right here, there's a joint up under here. You're just going to give that a pull until you feel that click. That's going to swing all of that forward, revealing some mechanical detail, and then you're going to be able to just swing this forward and click those into place, and then you have one of those rear legs complete. All right, so we're going to do the same thing over here. So lift this up so you can see what's going on. Take this dinosaur foot, pull that out, present your cavity, rotate your hand, bring that down, and give that a push. And then you've got something that looks like that. Bring this back up a little bit, disconnect the foot right there, rotate that around 180 degrees. Then you're going to break the arm right there, and then you're going to take that slot and that tab right there and combine them. And then you have two dinosaur legs complete. Should look something like that. Now the next thing we're going to do is come back here, take this tail section right here. It's just soft tabbed in, so just give that a pull and give it another pull, and then that's all going to expand out. So you should have something that looks like that. That presents a cavity down here that you can now use to tuck away the Snarl bot head. So just give that a push, and you've got that nicely tucked away. Now go ahead and bring this forward a little bit. You don't close this up yet, so don't completely close this. You're going to do this later as one of the last steps, but just get it out of your way, because the next thing you're going to do is take this tail and bring these two pieces together and squeeze them, and there you've got the tail complete, and most of the back half of the bot complete. So if you want, go ahead and take these legs now, rotate them around. There's kind of a sneak preview of what's going on. All right, so take those legs, do that. All right, so you've got the upper half done, so we're going to make our way down to the lower half now. So I'm going to do a slight camera adjustment. And what we're going to do down here, first thing, is we're going to take this waist and we're going to pull that up. Pull it up as far as you can get. You're going to need the clearance, and then rotate that waist 180 degrees. After you've rotated your waist, now you're going to come down, you're going to disassemble these legs. It's pretty easy to do. So you're just going to take this section right here and give this a pull, and that's all going to come out, and you're going to take it out so it's angled approximately like that. Now these are the little dinosaur feet and legs, so you've got them tabbed in right there, so just be aware of that when you give them a pull. disconnect them right there and pull those feet up. Yeah, like that. And then once you do, of course, these two panels are going to separate on you, and that's exactly what you want to have happen anyway, because you've got a tab right there and a slot right there. You're going to swing this all the way around and close that up. All right, and you're going to do the same thing over here. So open this up. That should have come with it. Open that up. And then since it's already untabbed, it makes life easier, other than the fact that these are really tight joints. So rotate that around, tab, slot, close that up, and you're good to go. Now, the next step, you do not want to skip this. It makes life a lot easier. You're going to need to combine these legs, but if you try to combine them right here, you're going to be left with a gap. So right here, you've got little dovetail slots right in that area. If you just take that leg and hold it up here and then push down, you're going to get that little step that's going to come out right there. So do the same thing over here. That's going to make life easier. These legs will combine much better now. So close this up. If it stays, it stays. If it doesn't, we'll worry about it later. But you're almost in the home stretch now. So make sure you've got those spread as far as you can get them. And then what you're going to do is come down here. Don't forget these little feet. So show you from the front. Take those little feet, tuck them down. You'll notice they have slots in them. And you'll notice that this little guy right under here has got some tabs. So you're going to rotate this around. But as you rotate this around, make sure that this chest piece, it only moves a little bit. Make sure that that's up a little bit, because these little toes are going to tuck up under here. All right. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to start moving this. Oh, before we start moving it, let's go ahead and get his head exposed. So pull on these front panels on his legs, and then you can see the head is in there. Now the head's got somewhere to go as I rotate it. So rotate at the knees. Probably better if I do it at the angle of the dinosaur. So rotate that around. All right, you should have something that looks like that. Now you can take that head and you can pull that head the rest of the way out. Again, tight joints on mine. Push that in. You've got little tabs and slots right behind the head that these panels will fall right into. So remember, keep in mind, these little feet are going to go up underneath this chest. So you're going to have to, when you come up under here, you're actually going to push a little bit, and you're going to feel all of this stuff compress a little lower under there. And then once you have that clearance, now you can make sure that panel's up, and you can push all that together. Okay? And then once you do that, if you look up under there, nice and close, right here and right there, you can see you've got tabs and slots, and they're going to line up just like that. Now you can take this back tail piece right here. You notice you have tabs. You'll notice you have slots, and you can close that piece up as well. Tab that in. And then your last, well, not your last step because you're going to move these, but one of the last steps here is you're going to take this assembly right here. You've got that tab. You've got that half slot right there. It's all going to line up. Give that a push. Give that a squeeze. Make sure everything is nice and compacted. And then you're left with bringing these little dinosaur feet down. I'm not going to worry about posing him right now. This is just the transformation segment. So make sure you've got all that about where it needs to be. And give that a click, give that a click, click, bring it down. And there you have Snarl in his alt mode. Now that we have him in his alt mode, let's take a few moments here to just put him on the turntable and admire him in a full 360 view without my big meaty paws getting in the way. So as you can see, I think he turns out looking pretty good. I think out of the 4 Dinobots that we've seen so far, between Grimlock, Slag, Sludge, and Snarl, his is the weakest alt mode. I'm not the biggest fan of the rear section, how the tail comes together, the complete lack of limitations of what you can do with the tail, so on and so forth. But he's still a good-looking robot dinosaur, in my opinion. I think there's still all kinds of fun to be had with him. He just looks like he's very sharply cut off. Just a little stubby. I don't know what the word is, but I feel like there ought to be more back here. But either way, I think he looks pretty darn good. I do appreciate all the engineering that went into him to make such a wonderful bot mode and a fairly reasonable alt mode as well. So now that we've had him go around the turntable a couple times, we'll get that turntable out of the way, and then we'll take a look at his details in this alt mode and go over his articulation. Alright, now it's time for that alt mode close-up, and as is typical for our channel, we're going to start with that head, and yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, he's relatively dead-eyed and expressionless as you would expect from, I don't know what I would call the least intelligent of the Dinobots. Just point him in a direction and have him go, basically. He does have this kind of obnoxious line right here in the middle. That's just that split line from the transformation. I mean, you could try to get it a little closer, but it is what it is. It does tab in fairly well. No huge complaints there. It's just something that's noticeable. He does have some detail up inside that mouth, no teeth of which to speak. And then there's his nasal cavities if you're interested. And coming around to the side here, you can see those dino arms, some good detail there. A few splashes of paint wouldn't have hurt, but at least we have this right here that we saw in his bot mode. Coming around here to the back, same thing. Good mechanical detail, good sculpt work. Could have used a little bit more paint down here on all that gold. Coming around to the back, there is his tail, there are his spikes, and yeah, paint came out looking pretty good. Little odd to see the different shades. So you've got this molded yellow here, you've got this painted gold over here, so it's a little bit different. Not awful. All these missed opportunities up here though, my gosh, look at all that. They could have had so much fun with that. Coming around to this side, it is suspiciously like the other side. So hooray for symmetry as far as that goes. And there he is from the top. If I hold on to the tail and the tip of the head, there he is from the top, and here he is from the bottom. So he cleans up pretty nicely. I mean, obviously he's a robot, but I think they did a pretty good job of hiding everything. Now you will notice that he does have his sword down here, so let's go ahead and just talk about that real quick so I can get it out of the way. So this is your officially licensed weapon storage for Snarl. So it's simply just a matter of you have those two slots right there, you've got these two tabs right here, and then you plug it in and you're good to go. And I guess if you want a heavily armored Snarl, you could do that, because why not? That's dangerous. He could also cut your grass for you. Just go around and do that. It's up to you. So there you go. All right, so there he is from the bottom. And yeah, I think he's not my favorite out of the four that we've gotten so far, but I still think he's a darn good effort. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into the articulation, starting with that head. The only thing you're going to really do with this head is open and close that mouth. So you can get a pretty wide gape right there, or you can have his mouth closed completely, up to you. As far as his little dino feet in the front, you can go all the way around. These joints on mine are incredibly tight, but you can go all the way around. You do have also the ability to flex right there, a little bit of movement on that ball joint, and then you can move the paws that far back and that far forward. And then on the back legs, you're going to have these are his shoulders when he's in bot mode, so full 360 if you want to do that on those ratchets. And then you have the ability to rotate that foot, you know, if you want to do that. You can bring them that far forward and bring at the knees, bring them that far back, basically going back into the transformation for bot mode. And then the foot itself will go down that far, up that far, and then all the way around, as we previously mentioned. Nothing at the tail. Really disappointing. I would have liked to have seen something, but you get nothing unless you want to split it and have a good time there. But that's all you're going to get. All right, so that is pretty much the articulation for Snarl. It's not spectacular. It gets the job done. I don't think he's as articulated as his brethren go. But again, between the two modes, it's just my opinion. I think this is the weaker mode. I think the bot mode is better in almost every facet. All right, so one last thing we can talk about. Again, not real great here, just blast effect compatibility. You've got a couple spots. You've got hips, and then right up there. So yeah, you can use them. It would have been cool if we would have had the ability to have some fire breathing going on there. Even if they could have figured out a way, like up here in these, you could have, done something like that. That would have been cool, but alas, we don't have that, and that's okay. All right, so now that we've got all the details and articulation and stuff for his alt mode out of the way, let's go ahead and get into those comparisons and see how he looks to some other figures out there. Our first alt mode comparison is what remains of my G1 Slag. I do not have a G1 Snarl, so G1 Slag is going to have to be our substitute. Also, yes, I know he's in really rough shape. I was a kid. He was really well loved, really well played with. This is what I've got left of him. I adore him, and don't feel too bad for him. He had a really good life. Moving on to our next comparison, this is a live-action movie Snarl. This is Snarl as we saw him in the Michael Bay Age of Extinction Transformers movie. Now we're getting into the meat of things. I'm going to do the individual comparisons, and then we'll do a group shot here at the end, but this is a fellow Studio Series 86 Dinobot. This is, I believe they call him Slug now, but he used to be Slag. I know it's a derogatory term. He will always be Slag to me. Next up is the big ol' sauropod himself. This is the Studio Series 86 Dinobot Sludge. Rounding out the individual comparisons, this is none other than the King. This is the Studio Series 86 Grimlock. And last but certainly not least, here is that group shot as promised of the 4 Leader-Class Studio Series 86 Dinobots that we've gotten so far. Now we are just waiting on Swoop to complete the collection, and my oh my, what fun we will have. So there you go. And that is it for the alt mode comparisons. So let's get old Stubby Tail transformed back into his bot mode, shall we? Alright, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is a little bit of prep work. So you're just going to take these dino arms, dino hands, dino feet, dino legs, whatever you want to call them, swing them up like that, and then bring the foot down so it's just sitting flush. So do the same thing over here. Lift this up, bring that foot down. That way they're just out of your way. Make sure his little mouth is closed if it's open. Come down here and you're going to want to, mine had already started to split on me, but you're going to want to split these and open these up just like that. And then you're going to come up here and you're going to disconnect this from the black chest piece that's underneath. So just give that a pull and then just pull that out of your way. You don't even need to take it all the way back yet. Just a little bit out of your way. And then you're going to take the chest. Remember, this chest piece lifts up a little bit and it untabs right up under there. So you're going to hold on to the chest, hold on to the body here, and give this a split. And split that open as far as you can. That way it's going to give you all the clearance that you're going to need to swing all this back around. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lift these panels up so I can start tucking this head away. So give these a pull right there, lift those up, and now I'm going to start putting the head away, but I don't have enough clearance to put it away yet, so I'm just going to put it in that position right there. And then I'm going to simply, on this point of rotation right here, I'm going to start bringing these around. And as I start bringing those around, you can see now I do have clearance for that head. So I'm going to push that head all the way in and then bring those down. And you can see that you have legs now. So yay. And then take your little feet or your little toes, bring those forward. And you can split the legs right now if you want to. So let's go ahead and do that. So just give those a pull, give them a split. And then you can see, looking up under here, that the head has been completely tucked away. You get these little tiny slots and those tabs right there. So you're just going to line those up, give those a pull, or give those a push, I should say. Do the same thing over here. So line those up, give those a push. And then one thing you don't want to forget while you're up here, you've got these little areas right here that you shoved out for the transformation. So shove those back in. Give those a nice click. Do the same thing over here. Give those a nice click. All right, so now you're going to take care of these feet right here. So part of the prep work was getting those up and out of the way because you need to swing these around. You need to swing for that clearance. So give these a pull, swing those around, and then you will see right here you've got these little, now I wouldn't call them tabs, but just kind of these raised areas. And if you look up under here, you've got a little bit of a slot. So you're just going to kind of line that up. It's not going to sit completely flush, but that kind of gives you an idea of where you want to be. And then once you're here, you can swing that foot down, and then you can see, shouldn't have done that so quick because I wanted to show you. You can see these little tabs right here. They're going to align with the foot. So that way you get everything kind of tabbed in and lined up together like that. Okay? Then all you're going to need to do is swing this in, and when you swing that in, you've got that little tab area right there, just like that. So you've got a leg done. So we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to give this a pull, swing that around, line these two up, bring that foot down, tab that in, and then there we go. Have something that looks like that. And then swing this in, close that up, and then you're good to go. So you have the legs completed. Now while you're here, you're going to take that waist, rotate that waist around 180 degrees, and then you should have the lower half completed. All right, so now we're going to make our way up to the top half. I'm going to do a quick camera adjustment, so bear with me. Da-da-da. And now that we're up here at the top, go ahead and take these arms right here, swing those up so they're clear and out of your way. You can bring them a little more forward if you want to. There's no big science behind it. It's really just a matter of getting them out of your way. All right, so you're going to split this tail. You notice you've got little tabs, you've got little slots. So take your tail, give that a split, and then it's just going to simply tab right in to those slots on either side. And now looky there, you've got a little head under there. So let's go ahead and lift this piece all the way up. And then once you do, you're going to put your finger back up under here, and you're going to shove that head up and out of the way. Once you shove your head up and out of the way, that's going to give you the clearance that you need back here. So you're going to bring this down. You've got this little tab right there that's going to align to this little slot. So you're going to bring that down, give that a push. That's going to just oh so gently lock into place. And then you've got these tabs right here that are going to go to these slots right there. And you're going to line those up and give those a push. And then you've made his little backpack. All right, now we can go ahead and we can collapse this. Doesn't really matter when you do it as long as you get the legs done first. All right, and then you've got that. Now all we're left with are his arms. So the arms are pretty easy. You're just going to, let me push these down a little bit so you can see what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open these arms up right now. So I'm going to give that a pull, disconnect that tab from that slot. And then I'm going to bring the arm the rest of the way down and give this a push till I get that click right there. All right, now I'm going to bring the arms forward so I can see what I'm doing. Take these little dino arms, push those out of the way. It's going to give me the clearance that I need to get my hands out. So I'm going to start bringing that forward. If you do encounter resistance right here, check the alignment of your hand because that hand rotates. So just something that I learned as well. If you start getting, if it's really hard to push right there, make sure that the hand is lined up properly. All right, bring that up, rotate the hand around, and now you're going to bring this up. So you're going to swing this little foot around right up under here. You'll notice you have right there a tab and right there a slot. So you're going to take that little foot and you're going to close that up so it's collapsed like that. And then you're going to swing all that forward and tuck it in right there. And you've got one arm done. So now we'll do the same thing over here. I'm going to bring this out a little bit. I'm going to disconnect this, bring that down till I hear the click. All right, and then bring that forward so I can see what I'm doing. And get this dino arm out of the way. Bring this up, rotate that hand 180 degrees, and then start collapsing this. Make sure my little foot is the right orientation. Push that down, and then you have Snarl fully transformed back into his bot mode. For our first bot mode comparison, here we see that Leader-Class Snarl next to my G1 Slag, or at least what's left of him. As I stated earlier, I never had a G1 Snarl, would have been nice, but I don't. So Slag is my volunteer here to give you a sense of comparison to those G1 Dinobots. Moving on to our next comparison, this is Snarl, as we saw him from that Michael Bay Age of Extinction movie. And the rest of our comparisons are going to be those Studio Series 86 Leader-Class Dinobots, or at least the ones that have been released as of the time of this recording. So the first one out the door is the Slag, or Slug, as he's called now, but he will always be Slag to me. For our next comparison, here we see that Leader-Class Snarl next to that Leader-Class Studio Series 86 Sludge. And for our final solo bot mode comparison, this is the Studio Series 86 Grimlock. And last but certainly not least, just for fun, here is the group shot of those Studio Series 86 Leader-Class Dinobots so far. We are just missing Swoop, and hopefully he is not too far away, because it'll be really fun when we get all these guys together, and they look phenomenal as they are right now. And that's going to do it for all the comparisons, so let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. So there we have the Transformers Studio Series 86-19 Leader-Class Snarl, as we saw him from that 1986 Transformers movie. And I've got to say that in spite of a few annoying things and a pretty major quality issue, I really like this figure. I overall enjoy him more than I don't. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and we're going to start with the overall looks of the bot, the aesthetic that he brings to the table. And I will say that except for a few areas where I think they could have added some splashes of paint, this bot mode is almost perfect. He looks awesome. I mean, you want to talk about an amazing shelf presence in bot mode. By far, for me personally, my favorite of the Leader-Class Dinobots that have been released so far, at least at the time of this recording. I think he looks great. The Dino mode, it's okay. You know, it's not the best Dino mode out of the four that we've seen so far. He's a little truncated in the back. That's my biggest issue. So he looks good. You got the head, you got the midsection, you get to the hindquarters, and then what happened with that tail area? It just got truncated. So it kind of detracts from the overall look, but that bot mode just makes up for so much. This is definitely the mode in which I'm going to be displaying Snarl. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 for the overall looks here. He just looks amazing. Moving on to the articulation, similar story here. The bot mode is incredibly well articulated. The Dino mode has its issues, but starting with the bot mode real quick, about the only thing that I could have asked for that we didn't get would maybe be some type of a heel spur so you could get that foot up a little bit, something that would lock into place that would help with posing. But everything else, he's got everything you could imagine other than really just that waist rotation wish list kind of thing, but we don't really see those on mainline figures much anyway. The Dino mode leaves a little bit to be desired there. You have a head that is fixed in place and a tail that is fixed in place. You get a little bit of motion. You can open and close the mouth. You can move the legs around and do all that kind of stuff, but again, that's the weaker of the two modes for sure. But overall articulation, particularly in the bot mode, which I will be displaying him in, has got almost everything that you're going to need for some really good posing. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 for articulation. Moving on to the accessories, this is weak. This is really disappointing for a leader class for this price point. You get a sword. Yeah. That's it, especially when you compare to Slug and Grimlock. You know, they get their weapons and they get a little figure that comes with them, whether it be Wheelie or whether it be Spike in his exosuit, that kind of stuff. And then you get Sludge and he's got a gun, and now we've got Snarl and he's got a sword. This is a leader class. I expect more out of that. So a little disappointing on that end. At least it's a nice looking sword. You know, I'll give him that. So he's got that going for him. It just would have been nice to had something else for this price point. What it is, I don't know, but I just feel a little ripped off. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 for the accessories, or the accessory singular. Moving on to overall quality. This is my biggest issue with the figure for sure. Everything on this guy is good. Everything tabs together well. All the joints are tight. Everything works the way that it should, except for those hips. So when you're doing the splits and you're making that outward motion on the hips, They're just held in by friction pins, and at least on my copy there is very little friction. So I feel really lucky right now to be able to have had him in this position without him just doing the splits on me. So it's really frustrating. You have ratcheted hips moving forward and back. You have ratcheted knees. Why do we have no ratchets for that outward hip movement, or at the very least tighter joints? I mean, my gosh, loose joints are one thing, but loose joints on the hips, kind of the center of balance for figures, that's really, really frustrating. It does continue the trend, though. I do want to mention that on my Grimlock in the bot mode, his wings, which are his chest plates, they're very loose. They flop around everywhere. On my Slag, I have a horn that wants to fall out just by looking at it. And on the Sludge, of course, that is that typical systemic knee problem that Sludge has. So going right along with the trend here, all the Leader-Class Dinobots have had some type of quality issue, and he's no exception. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. I'm really disappointed in those hips. Bringing us to our last bullet, which is overall value. This is a figure that I pre-ordered. I've had him for a long time. It's been a long time coming to get this review out. But he was a pre-order from BigBadToyStore.com, and I paid $55 US for this figure. I would say that as far as leader class figures go, that's the MSRP. I'm not going to complain about the MSRP. I am going to complain a little bit about my feelings of lacking something here for that leader class price point. It really boils down to that accessory for me, but also just the lack of quality with those hips. I mean, those are two major things for me. If I'm going to spend $55, and if you're going to spend $55, I think that we deserve to expect more than what we get here as far as that goes. So I don't think that he's a ripoff by any means, but I do think that there is a distinct lack of value in comparison to some other figures out there. So I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10 for overall value as well. So that brings us to our grand total. Out of a possible 50 points, the Studio Series Snarl gets 39 out of 50, which puts him at 78%. Now, surprisingly, I am going to recommend this figure in spite of that low score and in spite of the issues that I have. I really hope, with all sincerity, that your copy does not have loose hips. And that's going to make a world of difference. And that overall shelf presence, the overall look of him in bot mode, man, even with these issues, really makes it worth it. This dude just looks amazing. So there you go. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. Hope you guys got some good information out of this. Hope you found some entertainment. And if you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment when you feel like it. I am desperately trying to answer comments. It's just life gets in the way. And one last favor to ask, if you haven't already done so, if you know of anyone that might like the channel, might like what we do here, please share this video. Share the channel with others. It's really fun seeing the channel grow and get some traction now. And one of these days when I actually can answer comments, it's just really fun to interact with everybody. So with that, it's going to wrap it up. Until we see you guys in the next review, take care.